Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever this video finds you, I hope it finds you in a good place mentally, physically, and spiritually. And if not, my prayer is that something in this video can encourage you today or somebody that you know. Now that that's out the way, I hope y'all ready to get high. I hope you've been getting high. Oh man, but you probably wonder what am I talking about, right? See, part of me wanting to be the change that I want to see in the world is by recognizing that there is one drug that's so addictive, and it's the love drug, So I'm out here trying to roll up a big fat cigar full of love and just pass it around to everybody, Metaphorically speaking, that is. But no, seriously, I named this Let's Get High because the thing is, I realized that we spend a lot of time in relationships with people. Okay. Now, when I say in relationships with people, I'm talking about, like, you and your significant other. I'm talking about friendships. I feel like they're relationships as well. See, my nose itching, excuse me. We ain't changing the video though. All right. Anyway, but again, I just feel like I begin to realize that a lot of times we are pushed and pulled in and out of relationships, or I find myself trying to identify why is it that I'm not getting what I feel like I should get, or what's expected, what's already been established, and I realized something a long time ago within myself, and that was the first step. Number one is, what type of lover am I? All right, when it comes to people, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to friendships, I realized I'm a hopeless romantic. Okay, hands down, I'm a hopeless romantic. And the thing is, when I think about the downfalls of being a hopeless romantic, it really, really solidifies the point that I want to make today, that I think a lot of us may have challenges with, or either we do not identify with it in time to be able to have a successful enter or exit out of a relationship. So just to get right to it, I realized that oftentimes in life, I have been in love with an idea. Oftentimes, I have been in love with an idea, okay? Now, I don't feel that takes away from the female when it's been a significant other, or, a friend when it's been something with a friendship. Because, oftentimes I could be given nothing and I still be holding on, and again, that's when the hopeless romantic thing comes into play. But the thing that I want to drive home today in your mind is questioning yourself on, am I in love with an idea or the reality? So let me give you an example. When I say in love with an idea, sometimes in relationships we can, get introduced to a certain type of lifestyle, communication, of admiration, of motivation, encouragement, consistency, and that's what the standard is. And oftentimes that standard is something that we're okay with, okay? But then it becomes a point in time in these relationships where that may change, okay? And I just see a lot of people, including myself in the past at times, where we continue to endure certain relationships with people, and sometimes we end up causing more damage, or we find ourselves enduring more damage due to the fact that we are still in love with an idea. I give you another quick example. All right, sometimes you may hear about somebody being in an abusive relationship. Now, I ain't talking about the ones where you scared to leave because, you scared, your life's on the line. I'm just saying it could be a verbal one. It could be abusive with just like your time, and it's like a lot of people are still seeing the good in that person, and that's okay. But it's okay to see the good in somebody and not still be in relationships with them, you know. Now, of course, not being in a relationship with somebody may look different when we talking about on the friendship level. However, I give you an example. I had a friend of mine that had got married, and I found out on social media, and honestly, it kind of bothered me, right? Because I was like, wow, like I mean, I ain't even, I thought we was tight. But then I started realizing that I'm still in love with the idea of how the friendship used to be, how we was inseparable, we was tight all the time. But I'm like, you know what? I had to realize that I got some of them friendships that like, it don't matter when we see each other. It don't matter how long it's been. It's going to be like we ain't skipped a beat, and we just right back on that same path. Everything's fine, right? And so, but then you have the ones that, hey, outside of mind, it may not be any love lost. But again, when I start only focusing on the idea that I fell in love with on the friendship level versus the reality of where we are now or what that person is capable of giving, then that's when I find some closure in the situation. And speaking of closure, watch this. A lot of us have not gotten closure from a relationship because we are still in love with the idea. But when we look at the reality, the closure is probably already there. But we're still waiting around for something to work out in our favor or work out, to the end that we want to see. And again, we got to look at what's reality versus the idea. So watch this. I have no lost love for that friend that got married, but here's what I realized. I'm like, you know what? It made me realize that, okay, if I need somebody to talk to, right? Well, I'm not gonna contact the same people that I realize is not capable of giving me that. And that's why I feel like it brings to this next point when it comes to relationships, like as in like with somebody you're dating, right? Or it can even be a marriage or whatnot. But I say more for dating because I've never been married. So the thing is, I feel like a lot of times in relationships, people change, okay? And I think everybody deserves a second chance, sometimes a third, depending on what it is. I mean, I cannot, encourage or discourage anything when it comes to my relationship. But I just know that, sometimes the issue is entering the relationship and being in love with the idea, but sometimes it's also exiting. And so I just want to encourage somebody today to realize that if you stay with somebody, if you begin to entertain somebody in the beginning, and the idea of what y'all want to be, both y'all could be on the same wavelength with it. But when that idea begins to fade and it's not the reality anymore, then it's okay to walk away respectfully, do things the right way. But I'm saying, I think a lot of us are scared to have that conversation. And then what happens is we become incompatible. And then now it's you're just kind of hanging on, hoping that it's going to get better. When what you could do is just take a step back. Maybe it's the right person, wrong time. Maybe y'all need God in the middle of it. There's so many different things, but it doesn't mean that it's over. But we have to stop being in love with the idea and putting that over the reality. Then in the end, right, it may be some times where you need to exit that relationship. All right. And again, I know you may have built a lot, but I just believe that sometimes the stronger person is a person that can stop being in love with the idea and respect the reality. And I know sometimes, that brother, that sister, you see the potential in them and all that, and that's cool. But sometimes we gotta take our potential and grow on our own. And it shouldn't be at the expense of your heart, your feeling, your time, your love, your commitment. Fall in love with their reality. Respect their reality. Never give up on the idea, though. I'm not saying give up on the idea. All right. Now, here's something else that I think a lot of us may go through. All right. And especially when we think about relationships, right? The reason why it's important that I feel to not just focus on the idea and staying in love with just the idea and focus on the reality is because sometimes we may end up settling. And when you settle in a relationship and you're not getting what is owed to you and what's been, already talked about, or you guys have actually been exercising as far as like whether it's communication, whatever, and you just still fall in love with the idea and you're just accepting, you're settling. It reminds me of kind of like going to the doctor, right? And you know good and well that you done had like 5 or 6 different symptoms going on within your body, right? But you tell the doctor, you know what? Well, I've just been a little nauseous. Just been a little nauseous, And so now, doctor prescribes you something for your nausea. You go on about your way, right? But at the end of the day, you have flu-like symptoms. So now, okay, you're not feeling you out the rut, but you got headaches. You can't sleep. You got cold sweats. You stopped up with whatever. You got all these other symptoms. And so all it did for that moment was take care of one issue that you was feeling. But at the end of the day, you still have all these other symptoms going on because you never addressed the whole problem. Okay? So to make sure I drive home the point with the metaphor, what I'm saying is, in these relationships with people, or significant others, we really, really gotta, not settle, because then you'll start saying, okay, you know what? Well, I know we don't ever really go out like that no more. But you know what? Hey, our communication's well, or because when we begin to settle, we will, in the end, almost we will almost be digging our own grave and laying in it if the relationship just dies off, because we have all these different symptoms. And when I say symptoms, I'm talking about signs. All these different signs that things aren't going the right way. We're still in love with the idea. All right. I hope this has encouraged somebody. Be blessed, be an example, be encouraged. Respect the reality. Don't just fall in love with the idea.